Welcome to Sarah Wood's Tale, where stories comes alive. Please do well to hit that subscription button and turn on your notification bell for subsequent stories. The sound of expensive heels clicking against the polished marble floor echoed through the grand mansion. The chandelier above sparkled like 1,000 tiny stars, casting golden light over the lavishly decorated hall. The scent of fresh roses and expensive perfume filled the air as waiters in crisp uniforms moved swiftly, carrying trays of champagne and exotic appetizers. At the far end of the hall, near the grand staircase, stood Felicia Carter, a young woman in a faded blue maid's uniform, her hair neatly tied back in a simple ponytail. Her tired brown eyes darted around the room, watching the guests in their designer dresses and tailored suits laughing and chatting as if they owned the world. Felicia had spent the entire day preparing for this party, cleaning the crystal glasses, dusting every corner of the house, and arranging the expensive floral decorations. But despite all her hard work, she knew she would remain invisible to these people. To them, she was just the help. She took a deep breath and tightened her grip on the tray she was holding. It wasn't her place to complain. She needed this job. A sharp voice pulled her out of her thoughts. Felicia! She turned quickly and saw Miranda Hayes walking toward her. Miranda, the owner of the mansion, was a tall, striking woman in her early 40s. She was dressed in a long red silk gown that hugged her figure perfectly, her diamond necklace catching the light as she moved. Her face was beautiful, but her eyes held nothing but coldness. Felicia swallowed hard. She had worked for Miranda for 3 years, and in all that time, the woman had never once treated her with kindness. Yes, Felicia asked, lowering her head slightly. Miranda crossed her arms, her lips curling into a smirk. Why are you standing there like a statue? You think you're a guest at this party? Move. Felicia quickly stepped aside as Miranda's best friend, Joy Sinclair, approached. Joy was just as cruel as Miranda, maybe even worse. She loved mocking people she thought were beneath her. Miranda, darling, Joy said in a sweet but fake voice, giving her friend a kiss on both cheeks. Then she turned to Felicia and wrinkled her nose. Oh dear, what is she doing here? Shouldn't she be in the kitchen scrubbing floors or something? Miranda laughed, flipping her perfectly styled hair over her shoulder. You're absolutely right, Joy. But unfortunately, good maids are hard to find these days. Even the useless ones are expensive. Felicia's face burned with humiliation, but she kept her head down. She was used to this. Honestly, Joy continued, picking up a glass of champagne from Felicia's tray without even looking at her, I don't understand why you don't just fire her and get someone better. She looks like she doesn't even belong in this house. Miranda gave Felicia a long, judgmental look, her lips twitching with amusement. You know what, Joy? You're right. Maybe I should get rid of her. Felicia's heart pounded. She needed this job to survive. Her younger brother, Felix, was still in school, and she was the only one supporting him. If Miranda fired her, where would she go? Miranda turned back to Felicia, her smirk widening. Tell me, Felicia, do you enjoy working here? Felicia hesitated, knowing that whatever she said, Miranda would twist it against her. Still, she forced herself to answer. Yes, Miranda raised an eyebrow. Really? Then why do you always look so miserable? Is it because I don't pay you enough? Joy laughed, sipping her champagne. Oh, come on, Miranda, don't waste your time. People like her are never satisfied. You give them a job, and they still complain. Felicia clenched her fists, but she didn't respond. She had learned long ago that talking back would only make things worse. Miranda's smile turned sharp. Well, if you think you deserve better, Felicia, maybe you should try getting your own mansion. That is, if you ever stop smelling like cheap detergent long enough to impress someone rich. The guests standing nearby chuckled. Felicia felt her chest tighten with shame, but she didn't let her face betray her emotions. Miranda leaned in, lowering her voice so only Felicia could hear. You will always be a maid. No matter how hard you work, you'll never be one of us. Felicia held back tears. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell Miranda that she wasn't worthless, that she wasn't just a maid, that she had dreams, too. But she didn't. Instead, she swallowed the pain and nodded. Yes, Miranda smiled in satisfaction and turned away, linking arms with Joy as they moved toward the other guests. Felicia stood there for a long moment, her heart pounding in her chest. Then, slowly, she turned and looked around the grand mansion, the golden chandeliers, the silk curtains, the marble floors. Miranda thought this house would always belong to her. But Felicia had made up her mind. One day, this house will be mine. The grand mansion, once filled with the sounds of laughter and the clinking of expensive champagne glasses, now stood eerily quiet. The golden chandeliers still shone brightly, but the absence of its owner made the house feel empty, almost abandoned. Felicia Carter stood in the middle of the vast living room, gripping a feather duster in her trembling hands. She had spent years cleaning this house, scrubbing the floors, polishing the silverware, and serving its guests. But now, everything had changed. Miranda Hayes was gone. The woman who had humiliated her, belittled her, and treated her like dirt had vanished overnight. Felicia had overheard the whispers among the other staff. Apparently, Miranda had been involved in illegal business deals, money laundering, tax evasion, and even bribery. For years, she had used her wealth and power to keep the authorities at bay, but her luck had finally run out. Someone had tipped off the police, and Miranda had been forced to flee the country in the dead of night, leaving everything behind. Felicia's heart pounded as she walked across the marble floor, her footsteps echoing through the empty mansion. Joy Sinclair, Miranda's best friend, had called earlier that morning, her voice filled with panic. "Felicia, where is Miranda?" Felicia had gripped the phone tightly, her voice calm despite the storm raging inside her. "I don't know, She left late last night. Didn't say where she was going." Joy had cursed under her breath. "Damn it. The police are looking for her. Do you think she'll come back?" Felicia had glanced around the mansion, at the designer furniture, the priceless paintings, and the extravagant decor. She already knew the answer. "No, I don't think she's coming back." Now, standing alone in the massive house, Felicia felt something strange bubbling inside her. It wasn't fear. It wasn't sadness. It was opportunity. For years, she had been nothing more than a servant in this house. She had cleaned the floors while Miranda walked on them in her expensive heels. She had cooked meals she could never afford to eat. She had watched guests drink wine that cost more than her entire monthly salary. But now, the house was empty. No Miranda. No Joy. No guests. Just her. Felicia took a deep breath and walked toward the large mirror in the hallway. She stared at her reflection, the simple blue maid's uniform, the tired eyes, the calloused hands. This was how Miranda had always seen her. As a nobody. A servant. Her fingers clenched into fists. Not anymore. She turned away from the mirror and walked upstairs. She had never dared to enter Miranda's bedroom before, but tonight, she pushed the door open without hesitation. The room was massive, with a king-sized bed covered in silk sheets, a crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling, and a closet filled with designer clothes. The scent of Miranda's expensive perfume still lingered in the air. Felicia stepped inside and ran her fingers over the velvet curtains. Then, slowly, she walked toward the massive wardrobe and opened it. Row after row of luxurious dresses, handbags, and jewelry stared back at her. Felicia reached out and pulled out a red silk gown, similar to the one Miranda had worn the night she humiliated her at the party. She held it up against herself and looked in the mirror. For a moment, she hesitated. This wasn't her life. She was just a maid. But then she heard Miranda's voice in her head. "You will always be a maid. No matter how hard you work, you'll never be one of us." Felicia's grip on the dress tightened. "We'll see about that." She dropped the duster on the floor, peeled off her maid's uniform, and slipped into the red gown. The silky fabric hugged her figure perfectly. She walked over to Miranda's vanity table, picked up a pair of diamond earrings, and put them on. Then she slid her feet into a pair of gold heels. She turned back to the mirror. The woman staring back at her wasn't just a maid anymore. She was Felicia Carter, and she was about to become the new queen of this mansion. A slow smile spread across her lips as she walked to the balcony, looking down at the grand staircase. For years, she had walked up and down those stairs carrying trays of food, picking up after Miranda and her friends. But from now on, she wouldn't be the one carrying the trays. She would be the one being served. And no one would take this house away from her. Felicia Carter stood in front of the full-length mirror in Miranda Hayes' bedroom, adjusting the emerald green dress that hugged her figure perfectly. A week ago, she had been scrubbing floors in this very house, wearing a faded blue maid's uniform. Now, she was dressed in designer clothes, her hair styled in soft waves, her lips painted a deep red. She looked powerful. She felt powerful. She stepped back and glanced around the room. It was hers now. The mansion, the wealth, the life Miranda had abandoned, it all belonged to her. And she had no intention of giving it up. Taking control. Felicia had spent the past few days going through Miranda's belongings. She had found stacks of expensive jewelry, hidden safes filled with cash, and, most importantly, documents proving Miranda's ownership of several businesses. One document, in particular, had caught her attention. Bank statements linked to offshore accounts. Miranda had been hiding millions, money that no one else knew existed. Felicia smiled to herself. You thought you were untouchable, Miranda. But you left everything behind, and now, it's mine. She sat at Miranda's grand mahogany desk and picked up the phone. It was time to make her first move. The call rang twice before a sharp voice answered. Who is this? Felicia recognized the voice immediately. Richard Langston, Miranda's business advisor. He was a shrewd man, always dressed in tailored suits, always whispering deals into Miranda's ear. If she was going to take over, she needed him on her side. Richard, it's Felicia, she said smoothly. There was a pause. Felicia. As in, Miranda's maid. Felicia smirked. Not anymore. I need you to come to the mansion. We have business to discuss. Richard hesitated. Business? I don't take orders from maids. Felicia leaned back in the chair, twirling a diamond bracelet around her wrist. Then consider this a friendly warning, Richard. If you don't come, I'll personally make sure the police see certain documents regarding Miranda's financial activities. Silence. Then, finally, I'll be there in an hour. Felicia hung up and smiled. By the time Richard arrived, Felicia had set the stage perfectly. She sat in the grand living room, sipping a glass of red wine, her posture relaxed but commanding. She wore one of Miranda's most elegant dresses, a sapphire blue gown that screamed wealth and power. When Richard walked in, his sharp blue eyes scanned the room before landing on her. He looked unimpressed. Felicia. This is ridiculous. Miranda is gone, but that doesn't mean you can just take her place. Felicia set her glass down carefully. Who says I can't? Richard scoffed. You're a maid. You have no business sense, no connections, no. Felicia interrupted him by tossing a file onto the glass table. These are the offshore account details Miranda never told you about. I have access to them now. I also have the property documents, which means, legally, I can control all of Miranda's assets. Richard's eyes darkened. How did you get these? Felicia smiled. Miranda trusted me more than she realized. She thought I was invisible. That's the mistake rich people make, Richard. They don't notice the ones who clean up after them. Richard studied her for a long moment, his jaw tight. Then, slowly, he sank into the chair across from her. And what do you want from me? Felicia crossed her legs, tilting her head slightly. I want you to continue working for me, just like you did for Miranda. But this time, you'll be answering to me. Richard let out a dry chuckle. You think you can run Miranda's business better than she did? Felicia picked up her wine glass again. I don't think, Richard. I know. There was another pause. Then, to her satisfaction, Richard gave her a slow nod. All right, Felicia. Let's see what you've got. A new identity. Felicia wasted no time in reinventing herself. She threw away her old clothes and replaced them with Miranda's finest outfits. She changed her hairstyle, learned how to apply makeup flawlessly, and even practiced walking and talking like a woman of power. She studied Miranda's business dealings, memorizing names, figures, and strategies. She had always been smart, she just never had the chance to prove it. Within a month, Felicia had done the impossible. She took over Miranda's investments and made them more profitable. She attended high-profile events, smoothly introducing herself as Felicia Carter, Miranda's successor. She charmed business partners, made smart deals, and proved that she was not just some maid pretending to be rich, she was rich. Even the staff in the mansion, who had once looked down on her, now treated her with respect. She had become someone in a world that had always tried to keep her in the shadows. But with power came enemies. And some people weren't happy about her rise. Whispers of trouble. One evening, as Felicia sipped coffee in the grand study, Felix walked in, his expression worried. Felix was her younger brother, the only family she had. He had always been supportive, but now, concern was written all over his face. "Felicia, I need to talk to you." She gestured for him to sit. "What is it?" Felix hesitated. "I heard some rumors today. People are talking. They're saying that Miranda's brother, Daniel, is coming back. And he's not happy about what you've done." Felicia's grip on her coffee cup tightened. Daniel Hayes. Unlike Miranda, who had always been cruel in a quiet, elegant way, Daniel was reckless and unpredictable. He had been away for years, but if he was returning now, it meant only one thing: he wanted control of Miranda's fortune. Felicia set down her cup. "Let him come." Felix frowned. "Felicia, this is serious. He's powerful, and he won't just let you take everything without a fight." Felicia's lips curved into a smirk. "Then I guess he's about to learn that I don't give up easily." She stood up, smoothing down her dress. She had built her empire from nothing. She wasn't about to let anyone take it away from her. Not Daniel. Not Joy. Not anyone. And if they wanted a war, she was ready. The grand mansion was no longer just a house, it was a symbol of power. Felicia Carter had transformed herself from a mere maid into a wealthy socialite. She attended elite parties, signed major business deals, and built a name for herself. But power always came with a price. Rumors had started circulating. People whispered about her sudden rise. Some were impressed, others jealous, and a few, dangerously suspicious. And among those few was Daniel Hayes. One afternoon, Felicia was in the study, reviewing business documents when the butler walked in. There's a man here to see you. He says his name is Daniel Hayes." Felicia's hands stilled. She had expected him to come eventually. She took a deep breath and stood up, smoothing the silk of her emerald green dress. "Stay calm. Stay in control. Send him in," she said. Moments later, a tall man with sharp features and piercing blue eyes stepped into the study. Daniel Hayes. He was nothing like Miranda, where she had been cruel with elegance. He was dangerously charming, the kind of man who smiled while plotting your downfall. Felicia met his gaze, refusing to show weakness. "Daniel," she said smoothly, "to what do I owe the pleasure?" Daniel chuckled and sat across from her, crossing his legs casually. "I must say, Felicia, you've done well for yourself. Last time I was here, you were serving drinks. Now you're the one being served." Felicia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Things change." Daniel studied her. "Indeed, they do. But tell me, how exactly did you manage to take over my sister's empire?" Felicia leaned back, unbothered. "Miranda left. I stepped in. It's as simple as that." Daniel smirked. "Oh, I doubt it was that simple. But don't worry, I'm not here to fight. In fact, I'd like to help you." Felicia raised an eyebrow. "Help me? Why would you do that?" Daniel shrugged. "Because, my dear Felicia, I know how dangerous this world is. You may have money and power now, but you don't have the experience. I do. And if you're smart, you'll let me guide you." Felicia pretended to think for a moment before replying, "I don't trust you." Daniel laughed. "Good. That means you're learning." Felicia narrowed her eyes. She knew men like Daniel. He wasn't offering help, he was playing a game. The only question was, what was his end goal? Still, she couldn't dismiss him yet. "Fine," she said. "I'll listen. But if you betray me, Daniel, I'll make sure you regret it." Daniel smiled. "I wouldn't expect anything less." Meanwhile, across the ocean, in a hidden villa, Miranda Hayes was seething with rage. Joy Sinclair had sent her a message. "Miranda, you won't believe this. Your maid is living in your house, wearing your clothes, running your business. She's acting like you." Miranda clenched her fists so tightly that her manicured nails dug into her palm. "That little thief," she whispered. She had lost everything, her home, her company, her money, all because she had been forced to run. But now, she was coming back. And when she did, Felicia Carter would pay. Shadows of the past. Back at the mansion, Felicia had bigger problems than just Daniel. Her past was starting to creep into her new life. Felix, her younger brother, walked into her office, looking troubled. "Felicia, we need to talk." She looked up from her paperwork. "What is it?" Felix hesitated before speaking. "I ran into someone from the old neighborhood today. It's about the debt." Felicia's blood ran cold. "What debt?" she asked, though she already knew. Felix sighed. "Before you started working for Miranda, you borrowed money from some dangerous people. They didn't forget, Felicia. They want their money. With interest." Felicia clenched her jaw. She had taken that loan years ago, when she was desperate, when Felix was sick, and the hospital bills had piled up. She had planned to pay it off, but then life had gotten in the way. Now, the past was knocking on her door. "How much do they want?" she asked. Felix's expression darkened. $200,000. Felicia's heart pounded. She had money now, but most of it was tied up in Miranda's business. If she took out such a large sum, people would start asking questions. And in this world, questions were dangerous. Felix stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Felicia, these men aren't patient. They said if you don't pay soon, they'll come for you." Felicia swallowed hard. She had fought too hard to get here. She wasn't about to let her past destroy her future. "Don't worry, Felix. I'll handle it." Felix frowned. "How?" Felicia forced a confident smile. "I always find a way." Betrayal in motion. As Felicia dealt with her past, Daniel was making his move. He had spent the last few weeks pretending to be on Felicia's side, gaining her trust. But the truth was, he was planning her downfall. Late one night, Daniel met with Joy Sinclair at a private club. Joy sipped her martini, raising an eyebrow at him. "So, what's your plan?" Daniel smirked. "Felicia thinks she's won. But she doesn't realize that power is a fragile thing. One wrong move, and she'll lose everything." Joy leaned in, intrigued. "And how do we make her fall?" Daniel's eyes gleamed. "We don't need to. Her past will do it for us." He slid a file across the table. Joy picked it up, her eyes widening as she scanned the contents. "Debts? Criminal connections? Oh, this is good." Daniel leaned back, satisfied. Soon, the whole city will know that Felicia Carter isn't some brilliant businesswoman. She's just a desperate girl who stole a life she didn't deserve. Joy smirked. "I love it. Let's ruin her." The storm approaches. As Daniel and Joy plotted, Miranda was already on a flight back home. Felicia, unaware of the storm coming her way, stood on the balcony of the mansion, looking out at the city skyline. She had come so far. She had built a new life. But deep down, she knew the truth. Nothing stays perfect forever. And soon, she would have to fight harder than ever to keep what was hers. The night was dark, but the mansion was alive with tension. Inside, Felicia Carter stood near the fireplace, sipping wine as she read over the latest financial reports. She had done it. She had built an empire out of nothing, turning Miranda's business into something even stronger. But she wasn't foolish. She knew the war wasn't over. Miranda Hayes and Daniel Hayes were coming for her. And she was ready. At a private hotel in the city, Miranda paced back and forth, her fury barely contained. "I want her out," she snapped, slamming a file onto the table where Daniel Saturday. "This thief, this maid, thinks she can take my life." Daniel, ever the calm strategist, leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Relax, sister. She may be smart, but she's not invincible. We have enough evidence to expose her. The media, the police, they'll tear her apart." Miranda scoffed. "She has evidence against me, too, Daniel. If she releases it, I'm finished." Daniel shrugged. "Then we strike first. We make sure the world believes our version of the truth." He slid a tablet toward Miranda. On the screen was a leaked news article. Maid steals millions from Hayes Empire, a fraud exposed. Miranda's lips curled into a smile. Perfect. Felicia's defense. Felicia was in her office when the news broke. The headline flashed on the TV screen, her phone buzzing with messages. Felix rushed in, breathless. "Felicia, it's everywhere. They're saying you faked documents, stole from the company." Felicia set down her wine glass, unfazed. "I expected this." Felix frowned. "What do we do? If people believe them?" Felicia turned to her laptop, clicking on a folder labeled Hayes Crimes. "We fight back." She pulled up files: bank fraud, tax evasion, illegal deals. Miranda had done far worse than she ever had. Felix stared at the screen. "This is enough to ruin her." Felicia smirked. "Exactly. If she wants a war, I'll give her one." She picked up her phone and dialed Richard, Miranda's former business advisor who had now sworn loyalty to her. "Richard, prepare a press release. It's time for the world to see the real criminal." The battle begins. By the next morning, the media was in chaos. Just as Miranda and Daniel's team spread rumors about Felicia, she struck back. Every news outlet now had evidence of Miranda's hidden crimes. Miranda Hayes, the woman who fled to avoid arrest. Illegal deals, fraud, and a stolen fortune, the truth about the Hayes Empire. Daniel threw his phone across the room, furious. "She flipped the story on us." Miranda gritted her teeth. "I'm not done yet." The final confrontation. That night, the mansion stood quiet. Too quiet. Felicia sat in her grand study, waiting. She had sent Felix away, knowing this night would be dangerous. Then, a sound. The front door clicked open. Footsteps. Felicia didn't move as the doors to the study swung open, revealing Miranda. She was dressed in black, her eyes burning with rage. "Get out of my house," Miranda hissed. Felicia smirked. "Your house? You abandoned it, remember?" Miranda stepped closer. "You stole everything from me, Felicia." Felicia stood, meeting Miranda's glare. "You made me invisible, Miranda. You treated me like trash. But I watched, I learned, and when you ran like a coward, I stepped in." Miranda clenched her fists. "This isn't over." Felicia raised an eyebrow. "Oh, but it is. Because the moment you walked in here, you lost." Miranda frowned. "What do you mean?" Felicia reached into her pocket and pulled out a small recording device. She pressed play. "This isn't over." Miranda's voice echoed in the room. Felicia smirked. "You just broke into my house, Miranda. This recording? It proves you're trespassing. One call to the police, and your reputation is finished for good." Miranda's eyes widened. "You wouldn't." Felicia leaned in. "Try me." Miranda hesitated, then turned and stormed out. Felicia watched her leave, victorious. The battle was over. And she had won. The sun rose over the grand mansion, its golden light spilling through the large glass windows. Felicia Carter stood on the balcony, gazing at the city below. It was over. Miranda was gone. Daniel was ruined. And she, the former maid, was now the rightful owner of the empire they had once controlled. The news broke that morning. Miranda Hayes arrested at private airstrip, facing fraud and money laundering charges. Felix burst into Felicia's study, waving his phone. "Did you see this? They got her." Felicia took the phone, reading the article with a small smile. Miranda had tried to escape, but her crimes had finally caught up to her. A video played on the screen, Miranda in handcuffs, surrounded by police officers. Reporters swarmed her, shouting questions. "Miss Hayes, do you have anything to say about the accusations?" Miranda's face twisted in rage. "This is all a setup. I was betrayed. I will get out of this." But Felicia knew the truth. Miranda wasn't getting out of this. She had used every piece of evidence she had, ensuring that Miranda's crimes were undeniable. Felix grinned. "She thought she could destroy you. Now she's the one behind bars." Felicia nodded. "She underestimated me. They all did." Daniel's defeat. Daniel Hayes sat alone in his penthouse, his hands gripping a glass of whiskey. His phone rang. "Daniel, it's over," Joy Sinclair's voice came through. "The board voted you out. You've lost everything." Daniel closed his eyes, breathing heavily. "That Maid," he muttered. "She played us all." Joy sighed. "Felicia isn't a maid anymore. She's the most powerful woman in this city." Daniel smashed the glass against the wall. He had thought he could outsmart Felicia. He had thought he could control her. But now, he had nothing. Felicia's final victory. Later that day, Felicia sat in the lawyer's office, signing the final documents. "With this, Miss Carter," the lawyer said, "the mansion and all of Miranda's assets are legally yours." Felicia picked up the pen, pausing for just a moment. She had started as a cleaner, scrubbing floors in this very house. Now, she owned it. She signed her name with a confident stroke. It was done. That evening, as she walked through the grand halls of the mansion, Felix joined her. "So, what now?" he asked. Felicia smiled. "Now, I build something better." She had wealth and power, but she knew what it was like to struggle. She wouldn't forget the people still trapped in the life she had escaped. The next morning, a new headline spread across the city. Felicia Carter announces new foundation to help struggling workers. She would give others the same chance she had fought for. Because the best revenge wasn't just winning, it was changing the game forever. The end. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to get more interesting stories like this.